And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Friedman versus Zarba. Step forward, please.
Al Friedman is suing the current owner of his previous home, Mike Zarba, for the balance of a loan and for disposing of his valuable war memorabilia.
Mr. Friedman, you had a piece of property, a home.
Yes.
And according to your complaint, at first you leased that home to Mr. Zarba. And then there was a discussion about him purchasing the home. He ultimately did purchase the home.
Yes.
He had some trouble with getting an appropriate mortgage because of some credit problems that he may have had. And you loaned him the closing costs, which
Correct.
were $20,000, with a promise that he would repay that money within 90 days.
60 days.
60 days.
Correct.
So first it is your claim that he owes you some of that money, $2,800?
As of, no, it's $1,800
$1,800.
left on the loan.
The second part of your lawsuit is that there was an agreement between the two of you that you could keep some property at the house, which you claim Mr. Zarba discarded.
Correct.
Mr. Zarba acknowledges that he discarded the property. He said that he gave you enough time to get it out, and he's not paying you the $1,800 that he acknowledges he owes on the original loan because he was forced to A, hire a dumpster to get rid of your stuff, and B, he stored it all that time. Is that right, Mr. Zarba?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you first rent this house, Mr. Zarba?
End of July 2004.
And when you rented the house, Mr. Friedman still had some property there in both the shed and in an attic?
Yes.
When did you purchase the house?
April 2005.
And when did Mr. Friedman loan you the $20,000?
The closing, but we had an agreement where I did some work for him, so it wasn't really a loan.
Listen to me. When did he loan you the $20,000, which you acknowledge in your answer?
It would be the beginning of April.
And how long were you supposed to have to repay this loan, Mr. Zarba?
In about 60 days.
Good. When does your receipt indicate that you hired this dumpster to get rid of his property?
August 5th.
When did you tell Mr. Friedman that you weren't going to pay him his $1,800 until he removed his property?
It was the end of July, right?
July
July
what?
20th.
And tell me about the conversation that you had with Mr. Friedman.
Well, he showed up unexpected again. He treated me like I was a mini storage.
Listen to me. What conversation did you have with him?
The conversation was, you need to take care of your stuff, get it out, and we'll settle up.
Well, he came to your property
Yes.
looking for money. He didn't come there looking to take his stuff. He came there looking for his $1,800.
Well, it was $2,800 then.
Oh,
I
okay.
gave him $1,000.
And when you gave him the $1,000, you said, when you get the rest of your stuff out of here, you'll get your other $1,800.
Yes.
Is that what you said to him?
Yes.
And what did he say to you?
He said he was going to get it out. That was the only agreement we had.
And he said he would get it out.
He said he'd get it out.
Now, 2 weeks later, you disposed of his property.
Yes. Gave him till August 1st, in a few days.
Well, so far you didn't give him any time, sir. You didn't say that to me.
No.
You said,
Okay.
when you get your stuff out, I'll give you your money. That's what you said
But
to
I've
me.
been
I
asking-
repeat, listen to me.
Okay.
I repeated it twice to you.
Okay.
Al Friedman says the man who bought his home disposed of his valuable war memorabilia. Mike Zarba claims it looked like junk.
What troubles me, Mr. Zarba, quite frankly, is your answer. The first line of your answer is the most telling part of your character. You say, I owe him nothing. We were overcharged for the home considering its condition, and he's lucky we didn't charge him for storing the items. That you wrote. So what you're saying is that after you lived there for a while and there were lots of things that you had to repair in the house, you didn't like the condition of the house, you said, I want to renegotiate in my own way the sale price of this house because I overpaid him for the house to begin with. You didn't write there that we had an agreement that we would store the stuff until August 1st. He didn't pick up the stuff August 1st. I hired a dumpster. No. The first thing that you wrote, the most important thing that you wrote was, I didn't like the purchase price, and I'm going to take another $1,800 out of the purchase price because I deserve that. That's not the way life works, Mr. Zarba. Is this your first house?
No, ma'am.
Well, I don't know what you did in your other houses, sir, but that's not the way you close a house. You close a house, you negotiate a price, that's the price. Once you purchase it, you don't say, I think I overpaid for this house. Let me see how I can get it the price down a little bit. We understand each other, Mr. Zarba?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect! Mr. Friedman, I want you to tell me what stuff, and I want you to be very careful because I am an ecumenical abuser. I don't like when somebody tries to put one over late in the game because that's what he did.
Yes.
I don't like when you try to put one over on me.
Yes.
So I want you to tell me what valuable items you left in the house.
And I've made a list, and I'll go
You
through
sure you
the
want me to
list.
look at that list?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to take a look at it.
The largest items on that list were two major important pieces to me were I had military boxes marked with military. I had a frame of when I was in Vietnam of a load crew in front of a plane that had my military ribbons on it. I'm a disabled veteran from Vietnam. There's also boxes I had marked with kids items that had finger paintings in it from the time that they were kids and just paraphernalia that they did through the years.
What you're really telling me is that the only thing that were there was your memorabilia. That is valuable because two wooden Santa sleighs, handmade, 2 coolers, 2 sets of Malibu yard lights. I don't want to deal with that, sir.
Correct.
I had 10 years of postgraduate work. I don't deal with this. If it was important to you, you should have gotten it out. Now, you just disposed of everything, Mr. Zarba?
Yes, ma'am.
No, that was the wrong thing to do.
There was nothing in there that looked like it was anything somebody would save. I've got pictures here.
I'm going to take a look at your pictures. Right now. Can I see the pictures, please?
I mean, this is what he left me.
First of all, get a new camera. We'll take photography lessons. I don't know what this is. Grass. I don't know what this is. I have no idea, sir. This is a whole major blur. Are you doing
let
this
him
on
in
purpose?
several times.
Listen to me, sir. Are you doing this on purpose?
No, ma'am.
When you took a picture of the grass, I could see that this is grass.
Yeah.
This looks like a Hungarian goulash, sir.
It was in the attic. The lighting wasn't very good. I agree. The pictures don't look great.
Listen to me, Mr. Zarba. This has nothing to do with lighting.
Okay.
This looks like somebody who's had a bad hangover took these pictures. All right. He had no right to destroy your property, so he had no right to take it away. He owes you $1,800 because he's a deadbeat on a loan that he made, and he owes you $1,500 for what he threw out. I'm speaking.
Yes, ma'am.
Suing him for $4,300, I think that's excessive, sir, for the junk that you left there for over a year. But he has to be taught a lesson that he can't dispose of your stuff. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,300. That's it. Goodbye and good luck. Nothing.
Parties are excused. You may step out. This is case number 269 on my calendar in the matter of Feinstein versus Fairley. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Mr. Feinstein, it is your complaint that you were assaulted and your car vandalized while you were at the defendant's bar.
Yes, Your Honor.
And the defendant, although I don't think you were there, is that right?
No, I wasn't there.
She says through her employees, I'm sure she has witnesses here, are going to tell me that you were very drunk.
Yes, ma'am.
And, well, I gather you acknowledge that you were very drunk, and any injuries that you sustained were sustained as a result of you flailing around and hurting yourself, and they don't know anything that happened to your car. So, what's the name of your bar, pub?
Scotland Yard Pub.
Which of your employees was there that evening?
Justin and Eric.
All right, stand up, please. And you don't know anything about this of your own personal knowledge?
No, I wasn't there.
You can have a seat. Justin?
Yes.
And Eric?
That's correct.
What is your given first name?
Lucky.
That's what your parents named you?
Yes, ma'am.
Interesting. Are you an only child?
No. There's 3 other siblings.
Are you the first, second, third, or the fourth?
I'm the 4th.
You're the last one.
Lucky to be here.
Got it. Okay. When did this incident happen at the pub?
The 22nd of what?
First, we got to get the date. Questions get harder, Lucky.
7/22, I believe it was.
Had you been to this pub before?
Only a couple times before this.
Immediately prior to the 22nd of July, when had you been to the pub?
Maybe a week before that.
So sometime the 15th, 16th.
Yeah.
Prior to that, when had you been to the club?
Maybe a month previous to that one.
Never had any trouble there?
Never, no.
You have a drinking problem?
No, not necessarily. Yeah, I like to drink, but I don't consider myself having a problem with it, no.
Well, according to you, Lucky, on the 22nd of July of 2005, you were drunk.
Yes, ma'am.
If I had to place a wager, I would say you have at least a minor problem with alcohol.
I would agree with that, yes.
Who do you live with?
I live with my parents.
They still think they're lucky?
I I help them. I think that they do, yes, because I help them out.
So tell me what happened on the 22nd, Lucky.
Okay, in the afternoon, I was at my friend's restaurant, which is a couple doors down from theirs.
What were you doing there?
I was eating pizza. They have a pizza place. I've been going there for the past 25 years. And I decided to go next door, and I was advised to never ever go into that place because I would end up in trouble there, because there's always trouble over there. I went over there and ended up there a lot longer than I anticipated. I had way more drinks than I, wanted to have, but I was having a good time, so I kept on.
How were you having a good time?
Well, I was shooting pool, and I was talking to people, and I was buying several people drinks. Then approximately 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night, I made the mistake.
What time did you arrive there?
Oh, maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I had maybe 12 beers there or something like that. I was out of control, I admit that, but I didn't cause any problems. I wasn't obnoxious.
When you say you were out of control, Lucky,
drinking-wise.
Tell me what you mean.
Drinking-wise, I overdid it drinking-wise, and I knew that I was drunk and I wasn't about to drive out of there, to leave, I was going to call a taxi, and I went into the bathroom. That was the mistake I made because the bouncer was in there. No words were exchanged. I looked at him, and the next thing I know, I was out unconscious. And then I found myself in the parking lot, left for dead. When I came to, first thing I saw was him again.
which one?
This guy here in the black shirt.
That would be Eric.
I asked him for help, realizing that my wallet was missing, and if I could go back in the bathroom to see if my wallet was in there. He said, "No, you're drunk. Get out of here." And then he said the police are coming too. So I said, well, okay, well, I would like to wait for the police and talk to them. The police came, and they just told me that I need to go home too. Call a taxi, do whatever, go home.
You have a police report?
Yes, I do. Yes,
I'd
ma'am.
like to see it. Go ahead.
I went over to my truck, my tailgate, and sat there. A couple women came over and were sitting next to me, assuring me everything's going to be okay. A couple minutes go by, and the police come back again, which I was not causing any more problems, that's for sure.
Well, somebody called them,
They were called again.
but they weren't called by you.
No, ma'am.
So they were called by somebody about your behavior.
But I wasn't doing anything.
That's not my question. I said they were called by somebody about your behavior.
They were called a second time.
Oh, okay. Well, this isn't the police report about their call. This is a police report that you made that said that somebody punched you in the mouth and took your property. There has to be a police report of when they responded to their calls. You did call the police, didn't you?
I called the first time.
Who called the second time?
One of the customers that was out in the parking lot.
You have a copy of that police report?
No, we do not.
Okay. So go ahead.
Okay, so then the police came for the second time, and they said, we're going to take you home. We're going to give you a taxi ride home. And they put me in handcuffs, which is very embarrassing to me to be put in handcuffs like I'm being arrested. At that point, I realized that I needed to go to the hospital. My face was puffing up, my back of my head, I was dizzy. So they said, would you like an ambulance? I said, yes, I would very much like an ambulance. I went to the hospital, they sewed my lip up, and then I walked back towards my vehicle, which is several miles away from there. And it was about 2:30 in the morning at that time. I realized that my truck was vandalized. My windshield was busted. My car was keyed around the sides of my car. My tailpipes were kicked down to the ground. And at that point, I realized that I better not say anything to them. And so there was a taxi out in the parking lot, and I was taken home. The very next morning, I went back there, and I talked to the owner, Patrick Sirely, and asked him if he would mind paying my hospital bill because I was beaten up in his establishment.
But you don't know who beat you up.
I'm not clear on that, but all I know is I saw him, and then I was out cold. And then I found myself in the parking lot coming to, and then I saw him again, at my feet, basically. Or I was at his feet.
So who's going to start?
I'll start.
Okay, take your hands out of your pockets and start.
When I got to work that night at 7, he came up to order another beer about a half hour into my shift, and I noticed that he was intoxicated, so I refused to serve him, and he went haywire and slammed his fist down on the bar.
Put your hand down, sir.
Called me a name that I don't think I can say. He started ripping up $100 bills in front of everyone from his wallet. Nobody laid a finger on him inside the bar. I didn't want to get into a physical altercation with him, so I waited till our doorman got on at 9. Finally, when he was put outside of the bar, he kept charging Eric, trying to bust his way back in. I went out to see what was going on. He threatened to get a gun from his truck and kill me and Eric and everybody else in the parking lot began kicking his own truck, pounding his head into his own truck, and punching into his own truck and other people's cars in the parking lot. At one point, you know, he like knelt down in front of Eric, took off his shirt, and said, just kill me right now, just kill me right now. And that's what it seemed like it was going to get to a point where I needed to call the police, because people were very angry that he was...
Is that when you called the police the first time?
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If you drank too much, it's your fault. Nobody got you down there with a funnel and filled your stomach full of beer. You managed to do that all by yourself.
And later today...
You think you have an obligation to support your daughter?
He never asked for support, or I would have given it to him.
Why does he have to ask?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lucky Feinstein says during a night of drinking, he was assaulted by bar doorman Eric Galan. Eric and his co-worker Justin Murphy claim Lucky was out of control drunk.
Okay, Eric, you got on about 9 o'clock?
Yeah, about 9 o'clock, and it wasn't too long until Justin called me over. And I tell Lucky that he was done for the evening, he needed to go someplace else. He asked why. He said, I told him that, you know, you were giving a problem to our bartender. Come back some other night, I'll buy you a beer, and, you know, that'll be the end of it. He got upset and irate, said that he had a gun in his truck, and he was going to start shooting the place up. One of the customers that was sitting outside got upset by that. They started having a yelling match. I got involved. I separated the two. And he continued to threaten people that were around. He said, I was going to come back and get you, shoot you, shoot you. And that's when he tried to bully his way through me. And as soon as he touched me, I just put him to the ground, held him down.
When you say you put him to the ground, how did you put him to the ground, Eric?
Tripped his leg and put him on his back, one hand on his chest, one hand holding his arm. I said he needed to calm down. As soon as I let go of his arm, he swung on me. And, you know, I just knocked it out of the way and held him down again. And Justin was outside and said, do I need to call the cops? I said, yes, please call the police officers. I got off of Lucky, went inside to make sure the cops were coming. Came back outside like after a minute or two, and Lucky was already laid up against the wall at the pizzeria. Now, I didn't talk to Lucky at all in the bathroom. I don't know where that came from. So after he was laid out, he woke up like a couple minutes later, and he asked me who knocked him out. I had no idea who did it. And then he started accusing me that I stole his wallet.
Did you find his wallet in the pub? Did you find your wallet subsequently?
No, Your Honor, I didn't.
You know, the police officers came. They spoke with him. They spoke with me. They said they needed to take another call, but he was going to leave the area. He was walking down the alley, and as soon as the cops were out of sight, he came back and continued to talk to some other person who wasn't even there that night.
Where were you when you observed this?
Standing at the door.
You remember any of that, sir?
No, ma'am. I never left that parking lot. I was waiting for the police to come because I wanted to.
The police came already, sir. They came and they left.
Right, and then they came back a second time.
Right. My question is, why did they have to come back a second time? Why didn't you just leave?
Because I was very drunk. I wasn't about to go anywhere, and I was sitting on my tailgate wondering, what am I going to do now?
Listen to me very carefully, sir. When you're very drunk, it's very, very difficult for a court to make a judgment as to the veracity, the truthfulness of what you testify to, and to give any credence to what you testify to. You are asking me to believe you above two people who were working that evening, sober that evening, have a clear recollection, at least according to them, of what transpired that evening, as opposed to believing you who was so drunk they didn't know on which pole they were at.
Ma'am, I'm saying that they're lying about this whole thing, that he's saying that he didn't give me any more drinks after 7 o'clock at night. I was in there drinking heavily. I was having beer after beer, and they gave me way, way too many beers, in my opinion. I don't think that
How
that's
old
right.
Are you?
I'm 41.
So is this what your complaint is, sir, that the bar overserved you?
Yes, ma'am, one thing. But I don't think that that should
Eric,
happen.
we started this case by my saying to you, do you have a drinking problem? And you said to me, I don't think so. Maybe a little. That's like being a little bit pregnant. You never have a little bit of a drinking problem, Lucky. Now, if you were 18 years old, I would say, I'm going to nail them, because a bar should know that a kid comes in and you don't serve a kid more alcohol than they can consume. When you're 41 years old, you're supposed to know how much alcohol you can consume and still have your wits about you. And according to you, you were warned. Don't go in there. There's always trouble in that bar. But when you were at this place twice before, according to you, you had no trouble. So they clearly didn't have it in for you for any reason.
I believe that they do have it in for me.
Explain that to me.
Because mainly there's just Mexicans in there, and they always call me white boy.
Lucky. Did they call you white boy on the 15th of July?
No.
Did they call you white boy the month before that when you went in there?
No.
You didn't change composition from July 15th to July 22nd, did you? You were drunk. Stop blaming the rest of the world. You were drunk. Either you fell, you got beaten up, you don't know who did it, your car got trashed, you don't know who did that. You have to accept responsibility for your own behavior. If you drank too much, it's your fault. Nobody got you down there with a funnel and filled your stomach full of beer. Nobody. You managed to do that all by yourself. If you had gotten into your car and killed somebody on the way home, I would take every piece of property that this lady had.
Which someday will happen.
Just a second. I would take every piece of property that this lady had because under those circumstances, both of you would be responsible. I take every bit of property you had, and I take every bit of property she had, because somebody who was innocent got killed. The only one that got hurt that night was you. And you caused that yourself. So deal with it. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They're lying. No, I don't have a gun.
He threatened me. He pounded his fist on the bar.
No, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Started harassing the female customers.
I don't know if it was the bartender, but a lot of people, they beat me up.
Threatening people who were trying to help.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Aiken versus Smith. Step forward.
20-year-old Robert Aiken is suing his ex-fiancée, 22-year-old Cheryl Smith, for unpaid bills and late fees. Cheryl claims Robert is obsessed with her.
Mr. Aiken, Miss Smith was your fiancée for a period of time. I assume you lived together for a period of time. And it is your claim that you put some money into her checking account in order to pay some bills.
Correct.
You broke up, and she put a stop payment on the bills you had paid. What was this, electronically done?
Yeah, she did it online. She stopped all payments.
I don't understand how you do that. I like that little checkbook. You write it out, you deposit it. I don't understand the online stuff, but you want that money back.
Correct.
Ms. Smith said nothing could be farther from the truth. You put money into the account. You did pay bills with the money you put into the account. You started to pay some more bills with money that you hadn't put into the account, so she put a stop payment on those bills. She has a counterclaim. She says that at some point immediately preceding your breaking up, she covered the entire rent because you were short, so that you owe her for rent. And in addition, and more importantly, she says that since the breakup, you've been involved in some serious harassment. So the money part should be relatively easy. How much money did you put into her account?
Total, 2 checks of $420 and $316.84, so $736.84.
When?
The $420 was put in on August 12th, and the $316.84 was put in August 11th.
When had you covered the rent, Ms. Smith?
I wrote the check on August 1st.
And how much was the rent?
$662.70.
Was it your responsibility to pay the rent?
We both paid the rent. It was joint money.
Immediately prior to the 11th of August, when did you make your preceding deposit in her bank account?
I would give her cash when I got my check because she was writing all the checks for bills. So I would just cash and stuff of that nature. I have no proof of it. Sorry. I'm a hand person.
Now, he put in the $736. What bills did he pay with it?
Well, my counterclaim is I have bills that total $548.44 that I paid for him, in addition to the rent for $662.70.
It wasn't like a split right down the middle. We were
Well,
just
it should be. It's all sounding very good for Miss Smith, Mr. Aiken. What I want to know is, did she make payments for you in the amount of $548? To whom?
She made certain bills.
To whom?
There was a $200 payment to his father.
That was to your father.
That's correct.
What, do you owe him money?
A car payment. It's in his name.
Go ahead.
$63.94 for his Comcast bill.
Uh-huh.
I also have penalties in which I was charged in order to stop the 3 payments that he was unauthorized to make.
Just a second. I want to know what the payments were that you made, not the fees. The payments were that you made.
Then without the penalties, there were bills totaling $196 made prior.
Made prior to when?
Prior to August 1st for him.
Forget it. You paid $263 that you can account for, not $548. You know, you look like butter would melt in her mouth. You know, you keep turning it around, and she becomes a more interesting character. 736 minus $263. $473. That's what's left over. Now, we're going to say that he owes you half for the rent, because that's part of your counterclaim. So we're going to take off $330 from that. $143 you owe him. You got it?
Now, what about the payments that she stopped, though?
Good, she stopped them. Good, she should stop them. $143. Gets expensive when you play house. Now I want to hear about the harassment, because that troubled me. You say that he called you over 100 times in a short period of time?
That is correct.
Let me see. Why do you keep calling her, Mr. Aiken?
There were different occasions equaling up to it. I was trying to call her in the beginning to try to get some of the money without going to court. And then from time to time, she would be like, okay, well, I'll pay you something. And she'd be like, well, let's meet up here. And say we say at 1 o'clock, it'd be like 1:30, 2 o'clock. So I'd call her. She'd be like, yeah, I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there. So it's just different phone calls basically trying to resolve this money issue.
Well, but I'm looking at it.
It's just continuous.
For instance, I'm looking on the 23rd of August, one right after another. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18 calls, one right after another.
That would just, as far as that was
Were you leaving messages on her machine?
No, I didn't leave voicemails. I left, I think, maybe one voicemail. The rest were she'd pick up the phone and then she'd hang it up, and I'd try to get back to her and talk to her, trying to...
She doesn't want to talk to you.
I understand that.
Well, but when do you start getting that message, Mr. Aiken, that she doesn't want to talk to you? If, according to you, she picks up the phone and hangs up, she doesn't want to talk to you.
I was just trying to get money, like I said, with these bills,
You
the credit
kept
cards,
annoying
and
her.
cell phones. When the payments got stopped,
You
they shut off
kept
the cell
annoying
phone.
her. Since August, have there been any further calls?
Not since the personal protection order was issued.
Okay, do you have a copy of that?
Absolutely.
Let me see. Was it a permanent order or a temporary order?
It holds for 1 year.
So you consented to this, sir?
Yeah.
Well, if you consented to it, of necessity, the judge had to say to you, you're entitled to a trial, right?
Yeah, we showed up and had a hearing.
Oh, you had a hearing, so the judge found you guilty of harassing her.
Yeah, I told him the story, and I told him the phone calls, and he gave it to me.
Okay, but after that, you stopped.
Yeah, I have not contacted her since.
Anything else you want to tell me about your counterclaim, Ms. Smith?
Yes. As far as for the harassment, this has seriously been going on for a long time. Numerous phone calls and numerous times showing up at my place of employment, numerous times threatening my child, numerous times threatening me. He's physically assaulted me.
After he physically assaulted you, did you remain in the relationship?
No.
When, according to you, was the first time that he physically became violent with you?
On August 7th.
So that was about the time that you were breaking up?
That is correct.
Okay, so this wasn't a history, as you indicated?
No.
Fine. And what did he do to you on the 7th?
On the 7th, he shoved me into a wall and left me captive in the closet of our apartment until I had talked to him.
I don't understand that.
Our closet is a small room. I was in there actually packing some clothes, and he stood in the doorway and refused to allow me to leave.
So he kept you captive there?
Correct.
Because he wanted to talk to you?
Correct.
He's over it. You get over it. He's finished, right?
Correct.
Going to stay away from her? Going to get you $148?
Correct.
Leave her alone?
Without question.
You made a bad choice. Put a period. Move on. Counterclaim is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 241 on the calendar in the matter of Taylor versus Hickman. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat.
Ms. Taylor, according to what I read in your complaint, you and the defendant were friends. There came a time, you're going to tell me about that time, when you lost your driver's license and you needed a car, you needed transportation. So you made an arrangement with Miss Hickman that you would purchase a car. The car would be titled in Miss Hickman's name. You would also pay for the insurance, with the understanding that she would take you to do your chores, take your children wherever they had to go. It is your complaint that subsequently you had a falling out and she stole your car. Ms. Hickman says nothing could be farther from the truth. It was her car. It was always her car. And when you came to pick up the car because of something that had to do with a boyfriend, you were so angry that you couldn't get the car that you smashed all of the windows in the car, and she has a counterclaim. When was this car purchased?
It was purchased on July 27th, 2005.
And what was the purchase price?
$4,000.
Where did you buy it?
We looked in the penny saver, and it was bought through somebody at a house, and then it was bought under A&M Auto.
Who went to look at the car?
Me and Nicole Hickman.
Why did you lose your driver's license?
For DUI.
How many DUIs?
I've been convicted of one. I was arrested for one previous, but I wasn't convicted.
Do you have your license reinstated at this point?
It'll be reinstated the day I get back to Daytona Beach, Florida. I'm eligible.
Who put down the down payment on the car?
I paid for the car in full, in cash.
Do you have any proof of that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You looked for a car together?
Right.
Why?
Okay, I had a 98 Contour that she had gave me a couple years back when she had lost her driver's license for the DUI.
Just a minute. When you say she gave it to you as a gift?
Yes.
That's untrue, Your Honor.
Well, this would be helpful to you. It shows what a nice person you are.
The car was wrecked, and it wasn't in the best condition. However, I made an agreement with her that she paid for it to get out of impound, because I already purchased another car before this. I purchased an '89 Buick, and I did give her the title because she is my friend.
Okay. So you gave her the car?
For $250, and she was supposed to pay me $250 more.
Okay, but she didn't.
Over favors and stuff, we wrote that off.
Okay, go.
Okay, so the transmission on the car went out. Now, previous to her having the baby, Michaela, I had drove her around to doctor's appointments, wherever she needed to go, basically, which I had for years. I was going to get the transmission on the Contour fixed. We started looking at cars because I was going to go ahead and put... Okay. I was going to go ahead and put the money that I had for the transmission on my car, which was $1,500 at the time, towards a new vehicle, which she was like, you know, why don't you just get something new? We were going to get a place together. She was my girlfriend. She wasn't my friend.
That's untrue, Your Honor.
Shh. Go.
Okay, we looked in the penny saver. I found a Malibu. I had wanted a Malibu for a while since my friend here had purchased one. I liked them. I test drove the car. I only had $2,000 at the time for the car. Shelly told me that she would go ahead and give me the rest of the money. She had just received a $30,000 settlement from a previous lawsuit that she had against an insurance company, and said that she would pay the remainder that I didn't have for the car. We were going to move in together. It would be my car, but it would get her around as well, and her kids. It was going to be like the family car. And that's what happened.
Show me proof that you paid $2,000 towards the car.
I don't have a proof that I gave her anything because I gave it to her in cash, but all I have is like my pawn slip where I pawned my necklace to get the Contour fixed, and I have forms of unemployment that I had. I know it's not proof that I gave her any money.
It isn't.
You're right.
All right, so we have proof and we have no proof.
I paid for the car in cash.
You don't have any proof.
I have a bill of sale.
No, the bill of sale said that you purchased the car.
Yeah.
So that you could register it. I understand. Okay. Who's Shelley Taylor? Who's Linda Taylor?
That's my mother.
So your mother gave you a $4,000 check?
Yes, ma'am.
So this check is not made out to the person who sold the car?
No, ma'am. They wanted cash.
Can I say something to that?
Got it. I got it. Now I got it.
Okay.
So you have this much proof. She has no proof. Good. Now, so what happened?
I got the car registered. She paid for my insurance. We went to a lady that she knew.
Okay, she paid the insurance.
That's right.
How much was the insurance?
Ma'am, it was $668.
So far you paid $2,668 according to you.
That's right.
Not according to her, but according to you.
That's right.
She paid for more than half of the amount necessary to get this car on the road, despite the fact that the car was titled in your name.
Right, but it wasn't
Just the facts, ma'am.
Okay.
So far, she paid for more than half to get this car on the road.
Okay.
Despite the fact that it's titled in your name, because she can't have a car titled in her name because she has no driver's license and
Florida,
she can't get insurance. I'm speaking.
Sorry.
In what month did you two have a falling out?
On August 10th, according to her paperwork, which I'm not sure the exact date. I have a police report. She left her son with me on the 9th. I guess from what I found out, her ex-boyfriend that she had just had a baby with was getting out of jail, which I did not know because I was under the understanding that me and her were together.
Don't tell me what your understanding was.
Okay. So the old man gets out of jail. She leaves all night long with the car. I call her the next day. I have her son. Okay, I call her to get the car.
Did you take the car that day?
That's untrue, Your Honor.
Where was the car?
It was parked at my parents' house.
Just a second. You didn't use the car? Boyfriend
No, ma'am.
didn't use the car?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Next.
So the next day, she comes to my house and gets her son in the car. I tell her that I need the car. She says no, that she is not giving me the car back. She took it to...
Who was driving?
She was driving.
No license?
That's right.
Got it. Go.
So she took the car and went to her mom. She took off before I even came down the stairs to even know what was going on. She grabbed her son, half of his things, lifted his shoes, everything, took the car, went to her mom's house. I called her. She said that her boyfriend was out, Ryan, they were getting back together, and she said that I wasn't getting the car back. So I went over there and with the police, well, not with the police at first, I just went to get the car. She came out with a hammer, started beating the car with a hammer. Her neighbors called the police. The cops came. They had made me tow the car because she took my registration.
Let me see the police report.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Why did you smash the car?
I was just so frustrated, Your Honor. I lost my temper.
Ever been involved with the police for losing your temper?
Yes.
And later today...
This boy's been a guest in our home. I didn't expect him to lie to me.
Nobody lied to you, madam.
He did. He did not tell me that this vehicle had a salvage title.
Nobody lied to you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Shelley Taylor says, former friend Nicole Hickman owes for the return of a 1999 Chevy Malibu. Nicole is countersuing, claiming Shelley vandalized the vehicle.
You think the police tell the truth?
Yes.
You think that they are trained to do adequate reporting so that all the facts are contained in a police report?
No.
Well, they are. And according to the police, Ms. Hickman, you advised the police that the two of you bought the car together, you giving $1,500 towards the car, and the plaintiff giving $2,500 towards the car.
Mm-hmm.
Shh. I didn't ask a question yet. So you told me a moment ago that you put in $2,000.
I did.
Well, were you telling me the truth or were you telling the police the truth?
I'm not sure if the police was going by her information
No,
or
the
mine.
police said, listen to me.
Okay.
Listen to me. N. Hickman, that would be you.
That's right.
Advised, that means said, told, conveyed, indicated. That means they were speaking to you. That the two bought the vehicle together. N. Hickman, that would be you, giving $1,500, and S. Taylor giving $2,500. So I'm going to get back to my question. Were you telling me the truth when you said that you gave $2,000 towards the car, or were you telling the police the truth?
I was telling you the police. I paid
You were telling you the police?
No, I was telling you the right. I paid $2,000 for the car.
So you were telling me the truth
That's
and
right.
you lied to the police?
I guess if that's what it says.
Yeah, that's what it says. Your proof is getting better.
Thank you.
Because according to the police, the purchase date was the 28th of July, and your check from your mother to you was the 27th of July for $4,000. And one of the things you both agree on was that the purchase price of the car was $4,000.
That's right.
And you have no proof that you gave her either $1,500 or $2,000.
No, I
Is
don't.
that right?
That's right.
Good. It's getting better. Okay. Now, let's come back to you. Naughty, naughty. One should not have lost their temper. Why did you smash the car?
It was out of frustration because I've been friends with Nicole Hickman for over 6 years, and she put the trust in me that I could trust her, that we could do this together so I could have reliable transportation, and she completely broke my trust. She brought the police to my house and said I stole her vehicle. I was just so frustrated, Your Honor. I lost my temper.
Don't lose your temper. Have you ever lost your temper before?
Yes, ma'am.
Ever been involved with the police for losing your temper?
With my DUI.
So it was a DUI and you got into an altercation with the police?
Yes.
How many children do you have?
I have 2 children, Your Honor.
How old are you?
I'm 24 years old.
How old are your children?
3 years old and 2 months old.
And what was the father of this baby doing in jail?
Possession of crack cocaine, driving without a license. It was his first time seeing his newborn child. We are not together. He's incarcerated again, so I don't have to deal with him.
Miss Taylor, you're 24 years old, and so far what you've indicated to me is you're a 24-year-old with very lousy judgment.
Yes, Your Honor.
And until you grow up, I suggest you not have any more children.
I'm not.
Concentrate on the 2 that you have. And don't bring any bums into their life. You know, if you're going to be a bum magnet, that's your problem. But if you have children, you have to treat the children a little more carefully. You got it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good. Okay. Where's the car now?
It's in my possession. I have the title for it, everything. It's my car.
Oh, good. Give it to me.
I also have information here that shows how many people she sued. I mean, this is something that she does.
Listen to me. I don't care how many people she sued, madam.
Okay.
I find that you have absolutely no stake in this car. You paid absolutely nothing towards this car. This is a copy of the title.
That's right.
Did you figure out how much it's going to cost to get the car fixed?
The estimate is $1,729.
Listen to me. Court will enter an order that the Department of Motor Vehicles is to transfer title to the car in your name. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Because this is a copy, so I can't have her sign it.
Okay.
And I'm entering a judgment on your behalf in the amount of the car if she does not turn the car over to you. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the damage to the car that you caused was $1,700.
Yes, ma'am.
You're going to have to eat that.
She had got a check from her insurance company already to fix the car.
Let me see.
I get a check?
From the insurance
I haven't received the check.
Payment was $1,229.
I got a stub that says that I am allowed to take the vehicle and get it fixed.
Oh, fine. You turn that over to her. Good.
No,
Thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
I'm not getting the car back.
I'm not getting my car back?
Yes, you're getting it
She
back.
just said that, Your Honor.
Oh, yes, you are.
Thank you.
She just said that she was going back to her baby's father, and that was, next thing I know, I'm getting sued.
She was supposed to be my friend, and we had a verbal agreement.
She was just chasing me with the hammer, and then she turned around and started hitting my car with the hammer.
She's going to write a fiction book one day, and that's going to be her career, because all she does is lie.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter, Johnson versus Venable. Step forward, please.
18-year-old Lawrence Johnson is suing the mother of his former friend, Tina Venable, for the balance on a Toyota 4Runner. Tina says Lawrence sold her a salvaged vehicle.
All right, Mr. Johnson, this is your complaint.
Yes, ma'am.
You sold Mrs. Venable a 4Runner truck that you had used throughout high school to get to and from school, and you sold her that for her son.
Yeah.
Who you knew throughout high school.
Yeah, for a couple of years I did.
How much did you sell her the truck for?
$2,500.
And Miss Venable doesn't deny that. Is that right?
That's correct.
But then you didn't listen to your parents, because your parents said to you, when you sell a car, you get paid.
Unfortunately, yes, ma'am.
And what you did was you agreed to accept payments on this truck.
Yes, ma'am.
Down payment of how much, Miss Venable?
I only had $200 cash that night when he came to the house.
So you gave him the $200 in cash and agreed to make payments in what amount?
$300 for the month of June, $400 July, and the balance in August.
Step up, please. Tell me your first name.
Trevor.
Trevor, had you seen Mr. Johnson driving this 4Runner in school?
Yes, I have.
Had you ever been in the 4Runner?
Yes.
What day did you take possession of the truck?
May 15th. We actually rode in it together that day.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Did you drive it to your house?
I drove him home, actually.
But the truck was driven to your house so that your mother had the opportunity to see it.
Of course, yes.
Did she look at it?
Yes, she looked at it through the window.
Nobody prevented her from coming down and driving in it.
No, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do, Miss Venable?
I work for an automotive dealership.
What do you do for the automotive dealership?
I'm in sales.
So you know, if you're in sales, if you want to buy a used car, you take a ride in it.
Correct.
You didn't.
No, I had reasonable expectation, him being an acquaintance of the family, that it would be as he said.
Really?
I did.
Well, it was as he said, madam. He drove the car in school for 2 years. Not something he purchased and then pawned off on your son, because your complaint is that your son had an accident in the car and totaled it. When?
June 13th.
So between May 15th and June 13th, who had possession of the car?
I did.
Who drove the car?
I did.
Tell me about the accident.
I was going camping in the mountains, and I was coming to a corner, and I slowed down, and the wheels locked up, and I slid off the side of the road and rolled.
So you didn't pay him the rest of the car. You say that the car had been damaged.
It was the first opportunity that he'd had to drive the car other than at city speeds, to school and back. It was the first time it had been on a curvy mountain road.
With off-road tires.
Just a second. Why do you think that you don't have to pay him the balance of this car?
Because he knew that this vehicle was damaged. He knew it was a junk title, should have never been rebuilt, and he sold it to me and didn't tell me, didn't disclose that.
Just 1 second. He drove the car for 2 years. Your son drove it for 30 days.
This boy's been a guest in our home. I didn't expect him to lie to me.
Nobody lied to you, madam.
He did. He did not tell me that this
Just
vehicle
a second.
had a salvage title.
Nobody lied to you. Did you ask him?
I did.
When you leaned out the window, what did you say to him?
I looked out the window. He didn't show up until almost midnight.
He came with your son.
I'm just saying, it was almost
Miss
midnight. I was not
Venable, start
prepared.
taking responsibility for your own behavior. If you wanted to have the car inspected by somebody who was unbiased, take it to your own shop where you work. Say, listen, take a look at this car. And aside from that, if what you're complaining about was that the car was rebuilt, was it rebuilt by you?
No, ma'am.
Was it rebuilt by somebody else?
I believe so now, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but you drove it
Yes, ma'am.
with no trouble.
Yes, and
For 2 years.
I actually had it inspected twice before I started driving the car, and I had repairs done to it before I started driving it, and I had no troubles.
Maybe your son wasn't giving you the honest scoop about slowing down at the end of the road. Now, if you wanted to find out that this truck had been rebuilt, which I assume it says on the title, is that right? I'm asking you a question. Does it say that on the title?
The title was clean. It wasn't until I ran a Carfax that I have a copy of here that shows that the vehicle was salvaged and that it was a
Good.
junk
Now,
title.
let me ask you a question. When did you do that?
After the police and the record driver told me that the vehicle there was another reason for the wreck.
Listen to me. Could you have done that before you bought it?
I suppose I could have. But
You're absolutely right. So that's what you should. Listen to me. That's what you should have done before you bought it. You chose not to do that. And I am choosing not to say that this young man, knowing that there was a potentially dangerous situation with this car, sold it to you. Because when you buy a used car, it's your responsibility to see to it that it is appropriately inspected and not complain later, especially 30 days later when your son goes on a camping trip and totals the car. How much does she owe you on the car?
$2,300, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,300. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 275 on the calendar in the matter of Glenn versus Chavez. Parties have been
Thank
sworn
you.
in. You're welcome. You may be seated.
Is this your son?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you ask the young man to wait outside until we're ready for him?
Sure.
If ever.
Come on.
This way.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Mr. Glenn, according to your complaint, you rented a room from Mrs. Chavez with your son.
Yes, ma'am.
And you claim that she unlawfully locked you out of the apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
You suffered damages as a result of this unlawful eviction. You want returned your rent, a deposit, your moving expenses, and punitive damages.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Chavez says that she never locked you out of the apartment. You left, and she is counterclaiming for a variety of things: stolen property, damage to the apartment, and sexual battery, which she will explain to me. When did you rent this room, and why were you looking for a room?
My son and I were living in an environment that I felt was unacceptable for him. My work hours are late, and I wanted somewhere where I could consider him home at 12 years old. So I responded to an ad for a room for rent in a beautiful home, and I quote to you, cable, DSL, nice neighborhood. And I met Elena with my wife, and I told her
Were you
that...
and your wife living together?
No, at the time, no. I went through 17 months of self-employment and financial problems prerequisited her to move in with her parents and myself and my 12-year-old son to move into a smaller residence. We had a condo.
Your son is not the product of this marriage?
No, no, ma'am.
So you were separated from your wife at the time?
Yes. And we left and had a good conversation with Elena the first time I met her. And,
When was that?
That was, I think, late May of this year.
When did you move into the room?
June...
About June 28th.
June 28th or something to that effect. She may have documents to...
Is that right? When did he move in?
He moved in July 2nd.
Do you have a lease?
Yes, ma'am.
I can see it, please.
This is for the first room, and this is for the second room.
How many rooms were there?
There were two. The first one, the 28th, the second, I mean, it's 4 days difference. When I had the conversation with Lynn and my wife concerning the potential rental, and my wife and I spoke about it, we thought it was a good idea, but I didn't have the capital. She wanted a month's rent and a month's rent for deposit. So I approached her again some days later and asked her if she'd be willing to rent to me with just the rent up front, and then we can make payments or something for the deposit. She hesitated not 1 second, absolutely. So my son and I, we moved into a small room that was very small, but it accommodated us. Nice house. We went into the other room after the fact. It was a much larger master bedroom. So.
Okay, how much was the rent on the second room?
$800 per month.
Is that right?
Yes, it is.
So you were in the second room, $800 per month, on or about the beginning of July, and you paid her how much?
She probably has receipts for that effect also. 7 something and...
Mr. Glenn, You knew you were coming to court today.
Right. My stuff is all over the place in storage and everywhere because of this.
Mr. Glenn, that's not my problem. That's your problem. You know you're coming to court. If your stuff is all over and you're talking about a couple of months ago, you get it. You get it together so that you have it.
I apologize.
Ms. Chavez, how much did he pay you when he moved in the beginning of July?
When he moved in the beginning of July, he gave me $600. The last payment he gave me to complete that was $200, supposedly $200, but he only gave me $150 of it, lacking $50.
Oh, $750 you received from him the entire month of July, and what was owing on that room was $800 for the rent. Is that right?
I agree with that.
What about the security deposit? How much did you receive for security deposit?
He never paid that, Your Honor.
Is that correct, sir?
Not during the month of July.
That's what I'm asking you. So the month of July, you never paid for the security deposit.
No, ma'am.
And you were $50 short on rent.
Yes,
Now
ma'am.
let's get to August.
Okay.
How much did he pay you for the entire month of August?
$770.
So for the entire month of August, you were $30 short in rent, correct, sir?
Mm-hmm.
And how much did he pay towards the security deposit?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Is that correct, sir?
No, ma'am. And
how much did you pay towards the security deposit in August?
In the month of August, I paid $80 to her on the 26th, and I think I paid her $172 or something down to my penny in the 1st of August. So it's about $250 and 20 cents, roughly. For deposit.
And an additional $770 for
rent.
For rent.
Right.
Yes.
That's not true. I give him receipts when he gives me money, and
she gives me receipts like this sometimes also.
Just a second. In any event, there came a time, according to you, take your hands off your hips.
Yes, ma'am.
Came a time, according to you, in the month of August, that you told her you were leaving.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you tell her you were leaving?
August the 26th. I was paid by a side job that I did. I'm an auto mechanic, fixed her car a few times, and said, "Hey, Elena, let me give you $80, towards my rent because I'm going to be about $80 short." She took the cash money and she put it in her pocket, and she said, "Tim, I can't put that towards the rent. That's got to go towards the deposit." And I said, "Okay, understandably so. But if you do that right now, I won't have the rent complete on the 1st. And she goes, "It's not my problem. I don't have nothing to do with it." So I told her, "I'm going to move out on the 1st. I'll make other arrangements, okay?" That was Saturday the 26th, I believe it was.
Okay.
Sunday, we go to court, my son and I. Court. We went to church, and when we walked out of church, I turned my cell phone on, and I received a voicemail from Elena, and I can't quote you exactly, but the gist of the thing was, I've been crunching some numbers, and you owe me $290 right now, she told me, and until I get that money, you will not get back in the house, and you will have to take me to court for your property. This is the day before school starts, and I have a 12-year-old boy, all right? So I called her based on that voicemail, and I said, "Do you want to call the sheriff, or do you want me to call the sheriff? Because I've paid you all the rent for this month." I gave her $80.
Well, you hadn't. You were still shy. But she is still required to go to court to evict you.
So she says, "Okay, you know what? You call them if you want to." So I call the sheriff. 40 minutes later, they show up. I take my cell phone out. I play the voicemail for the sheriff. She said in the voicemail, "Until you pay me the money, you're not getting your stuff." The sheriff said, "I can't touch this. But if you want to go knock on the door, I'll stand there to effect the peace." Okay? So I approach the door and I knock very lightly. Okay, there are people there, and Justin's mom was there also. He's one of the witnesses for her. And no one answers the door. The sheriff then decides to knock on the door herself, somewhat louder. Okay, we know we've gotten attention at this point. No one will answer the door. Then the sheriff decides to take the flashlight. Knock, knock, knock. She's getting angry, the female deputy, all right? We see Elena through the door window go upstairs quickly, and she won't answer. Sometime later, Elena comes to the window and says, "Who is it that's knocking at my door?" And she said, "This is the sheriff's department, ma'am. I need to speak to you." And she said, "Go ahead." And she said, "I need you to come to the door." And she goes, "I'm not going to open the door for him." And she said, "Why not?" And she said, "Because he owes me money." And the sheriff's department said, "Do you have an eviction papers? Do you have anything like that you can show me?" And she goes, "No, but he owes me money and I'm not letting him until he pays." Justin's mom comes to the door to come outside of the house, and she walks out. When she does, the deputy puts her foot in the front door. And Elena tried to close the door on the deputy. And the deputy said, "I'm not having that." And she bowled her way into the house. I think you'll get a chance.
Do you think I need help?
I'm sorry. You have to understand what I've been through. I apologize.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He proceeded to move his hips left to right with such force that his genitalia made slapping sounds, and he laughed about it.
Ms. Chavez, you're full of baloney.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Timothy Glenn says ex-landlord Elena Chavez owes for an illegal eviction. Elena is countersuing for a security deposit, the return of property, and sexual battery.
Go ahead.
This is unbelievable. The deputy then forced their way into the house, at which point Elena became completely irate. Just unbelievable. She almost sat on the ground going nuts. She told them I stole money from her. She told them that I broke her gate and that I exposed myself to her and her 2 children. All right? At this point, I thought about it for a moment and I said, I don't even want back in this house because I can't leave my boy here. Who knows what she's going to do?
Do you have a police report?
They did not make a police report.
The answer is you don't.
No, they didn't. Here's the case number if you want to call them and verify.
Do you have a police report? I'd like to see it, please.
Okay.
You see what they both have.
So the watch commander looked at me and he goes, do you want to be here? And I said, no, but I want my stuff. And he goes, well, you know, go get your stuff. So I went upstairs and started to get my stuff. And the whole time I've got my cell phone on, my wife is listening to it on speakerphone the whole time. And the watch commander said, can you prove this to me, what you just said? And she goes, yes, I can. She goes, Justin, Alex, and that's these 2 guys here. And they come downstairs with their hands in their pockets looking at the ground. And he goes, this woman says that he exposed himself to her and her kids. Can you testify to that? And Justin and Alex both looked at him and went, nope. And he said, ma'am, I don't want to hear anything else from you. I want you to sit down and let him get his stuff. And I left.
And did you get your stuff?
I got all of it, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And as I left, I gave Justin, in the presence of Kareem, everything that belonged to Elena, the wireless modem, the stereo pieces, the leather jacket I still owed money on, even some chairs that belonged to another renter.
What leather jacket that you stole?
A leather jacket I was buying from her. I gave her $10 out of 50, and I had forgotten it in my closet, but as I was moving, I saw it. In his presence, I gave everything that belonged to her to him. And if I still have anything else, it's because I forgot it. I'm not taking nothing from her.
Put your hands down. Put your hands down.
This is just unbelievable.
So I have a few direct questions to ask you, Ms. Chavez. Did you leave a message on Mr. Glenn's cell phone on or about the 26th of August?
No, it was on the 28th, Sunday 28th.
And what did you say in the message on his cell phone?
That he needed to pay at least the $290 and that I wasn't going to open the door. He doesn't have keys because he lost them. And I told him, I'm tired of being your door person. He's broken my gate trying to get over the gate to get into back to get in the house.
Listen, I asked you what you said
that he needed to pay that to get in the house and that I wasn't going to open the door if he wanted to come in.
Listen to me. You cannot do that. You cannot lock him out. You cannot prevent him from entering. That's an illegal eviction. You cannot do that.
I wasn't
doing yes, you were. Ms. Chavez, you absolutely were.
I didn't change the locks.
I don't care whether you changed the locks. Listen to me. I read the police.
If he went and got his keys, he could have come in.
I'm speaking. You were home when the police came to your door.
Yes, I was.
You refused initially to open the door for the police.
For him. The police had to open
Ms. Chavez! You refused to open the door for the police. You cannot do that. Now, when the police finally were able to gain entrance to your house and speak to you, what was the first thing that you said to them?
I said I would let her in, but not him. And she said, fine, I just want to come in. So she came in, and we started talking. And she asked me what was going on, and I explained it to her. And
what did you tell her? The first thing that you told the police officer as to why you weren't letting him in your house?
Because he owed money, and I was trying to make an attempt to get him to pay some of it.
Okay. Now we're going to get to your counterclaim. Take your hands out of your pockets.
Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
Your counterclaim is that A, he owes you for rent. B, he stole property from your house. You were unclear in your answer as to what property he stole. Do you want to tell me now?
Yes, he took with him 2 towels, a rug, a VCR that I had loaned him. He never returned it. The cable transformers and the modem key that was given to him by charter. He never returned those things.
Okay. Do you have any of those things?
Everything I thought was hers I gave to Justin, but I'm willing to look in my stores and see if I have the VCR still. I mean, you can buy a brand new 4-head stereo VCR for $20 at Walmart, right?
I got it. I got it. Okay, so that's a lot of baloney. It sounded like a lot of baloney to me because it wasn't even listed in your answer. But what you want the most for is you claim a sexual battery.
Yes.
You want to tell me about that, Ms. Chavez?
Timothy Glenn claims he was illegally evicted by former landlord Elena Chavez. Elena claims Timothy committed lewd acts.
Now, you claim a sexual battery.
Yes.
Go ahead.
The first time it happened was about the 3rd week of July. We were in the kitchen, my roommates, Alex, Justin, and we were proceeding to have lunch. Everybody fixes their own thing. And he came in, and he's very, happy, smiley guy. And he started talking about how easy it is for him to get women. And he proceeded to move his hips left to right with such force that his genitalia made slapping sounds, and he laughed about it.
Oh my.
And I was like totally grossed out, and I told him that it wasn't funny because he was laughing. He thinks it's funny.
What else, Ms. Chavez?
And other occasions he's done it before. He's
Ms. Chavez, you know you're full of baloney.
Yeah. I'm not.
Hey, quiet. You want to go to the theater? Go to a movie. It's a court.
He did this, okay?
Listen to me. If he did it, and if you were so offended by it that you wanted to terminate his lease, I'm speaking. You give him 30 days notice in July, which is when you say this happened, and say, I cannot have that kind of behavior in my home. You chose not to do that, so I cannot believe I'm speaking. So close your mouth, put on your listening ears. You chose not to do that. What you chose to do was to allow him to stay there and then illegally lock him out. And when push came to shove, you resurrected this baloney to justify your illegal activity. And what I'm telling you is, you cannot do that. And it's a terrible thing to say about somebody, especially somebody who is the custodian of a child, especially that. Put your hand down.
I am.
Put your hand down. In addition,
in front of them, and not more than once.
Listen to me. You had an option. Your option was, I'm speaking. It's irrelevant that you spoke to him. If the conduct was so offensive to you, you give him a 30-day notice, which is your right. He is a month-to-month tenant, and he would have to leave. You chose not to do that. You chose, after this happened in July, according to you, I'm speaking, put on your listening ears, you chose, according to you, to accept rent in August, according to you, of $770. And if the conduct so grossed you out, all you had to do in July was say, I want you out. You chose not to do that. So I disbelieve how grossed out you are by any of his conduct. You cannot do what you did, and especially make allegations of a sexual nature with regard to someone who is a custodial parent. Very bad. And I also gather from your answer, because he's got a complaint, that you called his son's school. The very day he moved out, you called his son. I'm speaking. You called his son's school to say that he was no longer living at that address. What was the reason for that?
The document states that I have to do that.
Oh, show me. Show me the document that states that you have to call the day after he moves out.
I called 3 days.
Show me. Well, unfortunately, Mr. Glenn, this form that she has indicates that she has to advise the school within 3 days if you've changed your residence.
Okay, well, that's not all she told the principal.
Well, I don't know what she told the principal unless you have the principal here.
No, he wouldn't come.
Well, your allegation is that vindictively, and I guarantee you vindictively she made this call, but she is required to do it, and therefore I cannot in good conscience rule in your favor with regard to that part of your complaint. I think Ms. Chavez acted wrongly. I think she made an excuse for her behavior after the police told her that she couldn't evict you.
I agree.
She couldn't lock you out, and she said, well, you were a threat to her because you sexually battered her. You may have been guilty of poor judgment or poor taste in your storytelling, Mr. Glenn, but there is no evidence whatsoever of sexual battery. Is there? Right. Okay. Mr. Glenn, where did you go after you left her house?
Well, I went to Corrine Pardina's house that night. We didn't know where we were going to go until about 7 p.m.
Okay, so you went to somebody's house, you slept there. Where are you living now?
Right now, we're living next door to my wife in Altaloma. We're on the way back again, and it's great. I mean, everything's coming together.
Well, that's fine. So it worked out reasonably well, but I believe that you have to be compensated, not just because she refused to allow you in, because ultimately what you said was, I'm afraid to leave my son here because she's acting like a nut. Hey. So I'm going to take my son and go elsewhere because I can't leave him here, and she acted improperly.
Whether it was
I believe,
motel
I'm speaking.
I'm sorry.
I believe the fact that she told the police this baloney story about sexual battery is worthy of compensation. And it's worthy of compensation because of who you are, because of the fact that you are a custodial parent. And I don't think that she has the right to use that as an excuse for her illegal behavior. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. Your counterclaim is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I told you there's something wrong with the will.
Yeah, this is case number 169 on the calendar in the matter of Greenlee versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Ms. Greenlee, there was a time last year when you and Mr. Smith were employed by the same bus company, a school bus company. And it is your claim that while you were out doing your route, Mr. Smith backed a school bus into your parked car and then took off, damaging your car. You want him to pay for the damage to the car and other related expenses. Mr. Smith says he never touched your car, and he is counterclaiming because he says because you filed these charges against him, he was humiliated at work, he was arrested on the job, and he was ultimately acquitted of those charges. Did you have a trial?
No. The police officer dropped everything.
Okay. And told you to proceed civilly, I assume. So he's got a counterclaim. When did this incident happen with your car?
January 12th of 2004.
And at what time did you leave that day on your bus?
6:30 a.m.
When did you return to the yard?
Approximately 8:15 a.m.
When did you look at your car?
As soon as I got back to the garage.
And what did you discover?
I discovered a dent, and there was rub marks from where my paint had been rubbed off. Of part of
Do you have photographs of it?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see the photographs.
And I also have a videotape of the bus actually hitting the vehicle. There is the videotape.
So your car is red?
No, my car is orange.
Orange?
Yes.
Okay. Orange.
Orange.
I assume before you looked at the video, you conducted your own investigation. According to what I read here, a little bit of an investigation on your own. You went around looking at all the buses.
Yes.
And didn't find any of them with any damage?
No.
So what did you do next?
We went on our afternoon routes. David's the only bus that did not come back to the garage that morning. So when we both drove at the same elementary school. He was off of his bus, and I went and I seen the orange paint and the rub mark on the back of the bus. My husband was actually up at the transportation director's office speaking with him, told him the damages I found.
Okay. Don't tell me what your husband said. That's hearsay. But you saw orange paint on Mr. Smith's bus?
Yes.
Did you speak to him?
No.
All right, Mr. Smith. Now, tell me your version of what happened that morning.
I got in my bus around 6:40. I backed my bus up. I had another bus that was to the left of me that I couldn't clear, so I had to get off my bus because my two-way radio did not work on my bus. Got off my bus, went and asked the other driver if she could back up so I could go around. I did my route.
So it's your claim that at no time did you hit Miss Greenlee's car?
No, ma'am.
Now, you were subsequently arrested?
The police come to my work to arrest me for hit and run, but my boss asked them before they arrested me to go and watch the videotape at the transportation office. So my two bosses, the transportation director, the police officer, and myself, all went down. We watched the videotape. The police officer watched the tape twice. He come out, told me he was not going to arrest me.
Just a second, did you watch the tape with him?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, what do you mean he came out and told you? What is that?
He watched it twice. The first time we watched it together.
Yes.
The second time he watched it with the transportation director. And he come out and said he was not going to arrest me, he was not going to write me a citation, that he would let the insurance companies deal with it.
Okay, can I see the videotape, please?
As you can see, David's entering the bus. Starts backing up. He's having trouble maneuvering the bus back. Stops, he pulls up. As you can see, my vehicle to the left. He keeps
That's your
backing.
car? Is that
yes.
your car?
Yes. He keeps backing.
But there was no
There
contact
is
made.
point of impact. Pulls emergency brake. Apparently gets off of the bus for 14 seconds to see what he has hit.
Well, there's certainly a shadow back there now that I see.
Yes. Gets back on the bus and proceeds to take off.
Okay, if I hit the vehicle, why do I sit there for 30 seconds before I pull off?
What are you asking me a question for, Mr. Smith? That wasn't a bus back there. That was a car.
Yes.
What you told me a moment ago, Mr. Smith, was that there was a bus behind you. There was a bus that prohibited you from making a turn. You got off and you spoke to the bus driver and asked her to move. I saw no other bus back there,
The bus
sir.
was to my left.
I saw a car that you came dangerously close to if you didn't hit it.
Yes, ma'am. What I'm saying is I couldn't make my clearance. That's when I got off my bus to go ask the lady if she could back up so I could go and make my clearance to the left.
Not a big deal, Mr. Smith. You just should have accepted responsibility and said, it was a total accident. I didn't mean to hit your car. I will certainly pay for the damage. And be finished with it. Instead
I
of
didn't
making...
hit her.
You did! You hit her car.
No, I did not.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Unfortunately, we have electronics to establish it.
If you look at the tape like the police officer did, you will see I did not hit her car.
You think his eyes are better than mine?
No, you just have to pay close attention to the tape.
Sir, you have something from the police officer that says that you didn't hit her car?
No, ma'am.
You have a statement from the police officer, even though it's hearsay, which says, listen, tell your insurance companies to take care of it. This isn't worth my arresting you for hit and run. Nobody was injured. You're two reasonable people, working people. Let your insurance companies take care of it. That's what the police officer said. He didn't say that you didn't hit her car. Okay, can I see your estimates on having your car fixed, please? Did you have your car fixed?
Yes, I did.
Good. You're not working for the same bus company anymore?
No, ma'am.
Right, good. What year car was this?
2003. I'd purchased it 6 months prior to it being hit.
Did you receive insurance coverage for it?
Yes. My insurance company paid for it because approximately 14 days after the accident, the bus company's insurance said they could not find who was at fault because they never requested the tape.
Well, what was your deductible?
$450. And then I also had to get a rental car, and that total was $138.57. And I have
Why
my credit
are you
card.
suing him for $5,000?
I'm suing for the deductible, the rental car, the actual damages to pay back the insurance company because my rates are going up because of the accident, and also $2,801.94 in punitive damages for the stress, the mental anguish that I went through over a year and a half of dealing with this incident.
Unfortunately, you don't get paid for that. So your deductible was $450?
Yes.
And you rented a car for $138?
Yes.
It's $588. Could have resolved the whole thing.
I don't owe her a dime.
You do too.
I do
You
not.
hit a car.
I did not
And
hit her car.
And it may, Mr. Smith, be giving you the benefit of the doubt because this didn't look to me as if this was this kind of crash. It looked as if the bus was going very slowly and maybe you just eased into it with the bumper.
But if you could see the damage, even if I eased into it, it's not going to cause that much damage.
You have an expert that's going to testify to that, sir?
I can get one.
What did you think you were coming here for, a tea party today? This is it. You've been hucking around with this lady for well over a year.
No,
Pay her the $588. That's what you owe her. You were wrong. Say, I was wrong. I'm sorry. I know that that's sometimes hard, but that's what men do. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I should have resolved it then. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
You just don't want to admit and be a man and say I did it and I'm sorry. That's all I wanted from him.
She's a deceitful person and I want nothing to do with her.
I've never spoke to him a day after the accident happened.
We used to be good friends and we had us falling out.
I'm finally glad that justice did come out finally.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lucy versus Todd. Step forward.
18-year-old Christine Lucy is suing the father of her daughter, 19-year-old Fred Todd, for damage to her car. Christine says a drunken Fred kicked her door.
Miss Lucy, this young man used to be your boyfriend?
Yes.
And you have a child together with him?
Mm-hmm.
And you claim that he has a bad temper, and because of his bad temper, he kicked or slammed your car door on 2 separate occasions, causing some damage.
Yes.
Mr. Todd says that your car is old, that you both lost your temper and slammed the car door. Yours on your side, his on his side, and he's not responsible for any damage. How old is this baby that you have together?
She is a year old.
Did you ever live with Mr. Todd?
Yeah. When I found out that I was pregnant, we moved in together, and from then it's been kind of a rocky relationship. I've moved out and moved back in a few times.
When you moved out. You moved back home with your parents?
Yes.
How old are you?
I'm 18.
Where are you living now?
With my parents.
Stay there.
I am.
I mean, it's not for you. You're 18, you're still a baby yourself, but you made a baby, you have a responsibility to give that baby a certain amount of stability, and you don't need any more boyfriends for a while, and you just have to concentrate on your child.
And that's why I decided in June of this year that I wanted her to have a stable home where her family wasn't fighting all the time.
Right, because an 18-year-old, how old are you?
19.
Another genius. An 18-year-old and a 19-year-old or a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old, when they make a baby, that's a very dumb thing. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
So, when was the first damage he allegedly did to the car?
In July of this year, he was too drunk to drive and his mom needed a ride to work. And I went to go pick him up and take him over to get his mom and take her to work. And on the way there...
You mean, just a minute, his mother called and said he's too drunk to drive?
No, he called me and said that his mom needed a ride to work and he was too drunk.
What time of the day was this?
It was about 10 o'clock at night.
Does that ring a familiar chord, sir?
No, Your Honor. For one thing, I wasn't drunk. I hadn't been drinking.
Your Honor, that's...
Shh, just a second.
I didn't have a car at the time.
Mr. Todd,
actually.
Did you say to her, I've been drinking? Let's say you didn't use the word drunk. I've been drinking, my mom needs a ride to work.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
You know,
I mean,
listen to me. I have in my brain a truth machine. I'm not here to hurt you, Mr. Todd. I'm only going to hurt you if you don't tell me the truth.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What's my business is that she's taking my daughter around those people.
It's not your business unless there's something wrong with these people.
Well,
You're not her morals monitor.
You know,
just like she's not your morals monitor.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christine Lucy says the father of her child, Fred Todd, kicked her door during a drunken argument.
What kind of work were you doing in July?
I'm a dock worker, as a matter of fact.
Were you making good money?
Well, at one job I was making $15.50 an hour, and at the other job I was making $13 an hour.
How many hours a week?
About in between 30 and 40 hours, and the other ones it was sometimes from 20 all the way up to 40 hours.
So you're working at least 50 hours a week?
Yeah.
How much were you giving her?
I'd say in between 50 and 60.
Shh. So, of the $1,250 that you were making, you were giving her between $50 and $60 a week for the baby.
Yeah.
What were you doing with the rest of your money?
I had to buy a car. I owe money for things. I have a lot of bills. I live on my own. Just, I mean, all
Were you
kinds
living
of
on your own in
things.
July?
Oh, yeah. I've been living on my own since I was 17. So.
Now, so tell me about this. Now we're going to get back to the car.
The first incident when I went to go take his mother to work, on the way there we got into a fight over his drinking and him not giving me any money for our daughter. And he got upset, and when we got there he opened the door and he kicked it to keep it open, and when he did that, I guess it shifted my car door because the door was flush with the front panel.
What kind of car do you have?
I have a 97 Grand Am.
All right, when was the next incident involving the car?
The next incident was early the next week. He wanted to talk about some things, so I told him that he could come with me on my errands and talk to me on the way because I was very busy that day. And so we didn't talk a whole lot while I was doing my errands. It was on the way back. He tried to convince me to get back with him and try to start a relationship again. I told him that I didn't want to. I wanted to stay at my parents' house, try to build my own life, and he got very upset about that and lost his temper and started yelling at me. And then when we got to his mom's house so I could pick up our daughter, he did the exact same thing again. He opened the car door and kicked it. But
you mean kicked it open?
Yeah.
Kicked it open, didn't kick it closed, kicked it open.
He kicked it open. It was actually the hinges in the door frame were so far bent that you couldn't open or close my door.
Can I see the estimate?
Sure.
Good.
The pictures are here.
Good.
As well.
Okay, Mr. Todd, now I'm going to hear you.
Well, we went out to get it inspected, and she, like, as soon as we broke up, she immediately started dating again, immediately trying to replace me, immediately trying to I don't know if she was trying to get another father for my daughter or what she was trying to do. So it made me angry because I'm my daughter's father, and she's not going to replace me. I'm not going to let her. And,
well, what do you mean replace you? I don't understand you mean replace you.
I don't want to bring in a whole bunch of guys, into my daughter's life, in and out of my daughter's life, because that's not, I don't feel that's a good situation for her, to grow up in, with guys in and out, over life all the time.
What makes you think, sir, that the plaintiff is going to bring a whole bunch of guys in and out of your daughter's life?
Because within the first 4 months of us being broken up, she's already had 3 or 4 in and out of her life already.
Just to say, 3 or 4 what in and out of it? She
3 or
lived with
4 guys.
How, you mean that she's dated?
Yeah, but she's taken my daughter around and brought them around my daughter.
So, I mean, if you're telling me that she's lived in the 4 months that you've been separated, she moved in with one guy and then she moved out and then she moved in with another guy and she moved out and she moved in with another guy and she moved out, I would say to her, you're doing the wrong thing, and I would say to you, if you don't like her conduct and if you think her conduct is damaging to the child, and that would be damaging, go to court and seek custody of the child.
And we're in the process of that.
Just a second. But if what you're telling me is she's dated 4 people since the 2 of you split up, that's none of your business.
No, you're right. You're right. It is none of my business. But what's my business is that she's taking my daughter around those people, and I don't want my daughter
around. What do you mean around those people? I don't know what you mean. You mean when she goes out with them, she'll spend a Sunday afternoon with them in the park?
She'll bring them back to her mom and dad's house.
So that's not your business.
But they're around my daughter.
That's not your business.
May I ask why?
That's not your business unless there's something wrong with these people.
Well,
you're not her morals monitor. Just like she's not your morals monitor. Get to kicking the car.
So, that was what the argument was about. So we was arguing about that, and we come pulled up.
About which you were wrong.
Okay, about which I was wrong.
Absolutely, because you're not going to like it 2 years from now when you have a new girlfriend who moves in with you, because I have a feeling you like to have somebody live with you. And she says, I don't want my daughter over there sleeping over. He sleeps with this woman and they sleep in the same bed, and I don't want that. I'm going to tell you the same thing. That's none of your business. When a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old are dumb enough to make a baby, you got to make concessions for the next 20 years. Think about having another one. Got it? I would have 3 jobs if I were you so that you kept busy. Why did you kick her door?
I didn't kick her door. Actually, we was pulling up to my mother's house. The second time isn't when I don't think that it could have got damaged. The second time, we both got out of the car when we was arguing and slammed the door.
Just a minute, but her door opens.
But what I'm saying is I think it was the first incident. If I can explain that to you, I think that's what damaged the door to make it do that the second time when I, like.
So you mean you just started it the first time, but the second time it was real, you pushed it over?
I didn't kick her door, is what I'm saying.
Just listen to me. You were the passenger.
Yeah.
Door doesn't close.
Okay.
She could slam her door.
Okay, but...
Her door closes and opens.
Mm-hmm.
You got it?
Yeah.
Got it. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,022. That's all. Thank you.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Suda, Frazier versus Heb. Step forward, please.
18-year-old student Nikki Frazier and guardian Sam Suter are suing Nikki's mother, Stacy Heb, for child support costs. Nikki says her mom won't turn over child support she receives from her father.
Mr. Suter, your complaint is that you and your family were nothing but kind to the defendant. She was having some difficulty, and she was unemployed several years ago. Her daughter and your daughter were friends since grade school, and you volunteered to give her a home.
Yes, ma'am.
When she was 16. How did you do in their home, the Suter home? Did you do okay?
Yes.
Did you graduate yet?
Oh, I graduate in a couple weeks.
What are you doing after graduation?
I want to go to college.
How did you do in high school?
I make good grades.
She's been AB honor roll all through high school.
Did you apply to college?
No, I did not.
Why not?
Because the application fees are like $50 for each application, and my mom told me she'd help me pay for them, but she never helped me pay for it.
So, Mr. Suter, this is your lawsuit. Ms. Frazier lived with you for 2 years, and you got no support for her from her mother. You did not even seek support.
No, ma'am.
But then you found out that Ms. Heb was getting support for Nikki? from Nikki's father, and you feel as if that's unfair.
Somewhat, yes.
This is not rocket science, Miss Hebb. How long have you been divorced from Nikki's father?
Since she was about 6 or 7.
Do you have other children?
Yes, ma'am.
Are the other children also the product of this marriage?
No, ma'am.
And how much do you receive from Nikki's father for her support?
$50 a week.
What did you do with the money since 2003?
When she has called and said that she didn't have any food in the house and she needed me to take her to eat, I would feed her. If she's needed personal hygiene items, I've taken her. I've paid her cell phone bills. And yes, I did tell her that I would pay for her application fees. She never came to me and said, I've applied here and I need
I'm
the
not
money.
worried about college fees right now and application fees. How do you support yourself?
I'm a live-in nanny.
You think you have an obligation to support your daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
So that the things you bought for her, the few toiletries you bought for her, or paying a cell phone bill, you did that for your daughter because you're her mother. That's what you do.
Yes, ma'am.
The $50 a week that you were getting from her father should have gone to the Suter family.
He never asked for support or I would have given it to him.
Why does he have to ask? Did you ever say to him, Miss Hebb, Mr. Suter, I get money for Nikki's support from her father. It's not right that I keep it. I'm going to turn it over to you when I get it.
No, ma'am, I didn't. I instead, like I said, whenever she would call and said that she needed things, I would take care of her.
Well, that's what you did for her because you're her mother. She has 2 parents, a mother and a father. You're the mother. You work. If you have to take care of a few items, if you happen to take care of a few items for your daughter, that's very nice of you. The other $50 a week, if her father knew that she wasn't living in your home, did your father know you weren't living?
He just found out recently because I didn't have his number to get a hold of him.
If her father knew, I guarantee you, her father wouldn't have said, well, I'm going to send her money.
Her father has known. She's gone and seen him since she's lived with Mr. Suter.
I'm just curious. Not that I'm taking this for the truth of what you're going to tell me, but just my own curiosity. Did he ever say to you, if he knew that she wasn't living with you, I'd like to send the money to Mr. Suter?
No, ma'am.
Never did?
No, ma'am.
He must have had a lobotomy. Ms. Hebb, this is not a difficult case. It doesn't even test my academic prowess. The last 2 years, your daughter has been living with the Suter family, and you've collected $50 a week, roughly $2,500 a year. The Suters are suing you for $5,000 because that's approximately what you've collected over the time that your daughter has been living with the Suters from her father, and that money should have been turned over to the Suter family immediately. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $5,000. That's all. Make those college applications now.
Parties are excused. You may step. Yeah, it's case number 264 on the calendar in the matter of Creatia versus Cruz.
Thank you.
How you doing, Judge? Good. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. People have a seat.
Miss Creatia, the defendant is your current boyfriend, I assume this gentleman over here, your current boyfriend's ex-girlfriend. And they had a relationship, must have been for a while because they have 2 children together. It is your complaint that Miss Cruz was in a snit about something, and when your boyfriend went over to her house to pick up or drop off the children, he was using your car, and she took out her frustrations on him by kicking your car and causing damage. Miss Cruz says she would never do such a thing, right?
Right.
When did this happen?
April 22nd.
You weren't there?
No.
But the boyfriend was there?
Yes.
And his name is?
Ben Mojica.
Mr. Mojica, would you stand up, please? Next to her. How many children do you have?
2.
How old are they?
7 and 6.
5.
How long did you and Miss Cruz live together?
It's about 10 or 11 years.
Never married?
No, ma'am.
How come?
Just didn't get married.
Couldn't afford to.
Shh. Did you ever ask her?
No.
Excuse.
What?
He was going to buy me a ring, but I told him not to bother, so.
Did you tell him not to bother after your first child or your second child?
After my second one, when I knew that things were going pretty much downhill.
You couldn't have a clue to that before you had children with him?
No, he was actually a pretty good guy at that time. He just seemed to have went down the tubes, going to jail, getting into things that I don't want around my children.
Who is this man?
My uncle.
Uncle. Just seems a little odd to me that life has changed so much over the last 20, 30 years. The people live together 10 or 11 years. They don't want to make a commitment to get married, but they don't feel as if having children is a commitment. Just something doesn't balance out to me, so I'm always interested in this as it's just a social experiment. Do you understand that, Ben?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so on the 22nd of April, what were you doing over at her house?
They were having a toy party.
What is that?
An adult party, like toys, dolls and things like that.
No, it's like lotions and stuff.
What?
Lotions. It's for adult. It's for
An adult toy party. I shouldn't have gone any further. I thought it was a toy party for children. My mistake. Okay, so you were having an adult party.
Right. It's
Okay,
not just
go ahead.
Well, I was with the kids, with Marcus and Tiaja. We were at Lori's house.
Who's Lori?
A friend of hers and mine. And Marcus and Tiaja were there with me. I had picked them up.
Your two children?
Yes, at the daycare earlier in the day. And I had called Tanya. Then she had informed me about they were having a little party, and her sister, Michelle, was down here from Hartford. And Michelle also has two children. And she just had one, so he wouldn't know anything really what was going on in the party. And Xavier would know. So she asked me, Ben, can you come and pick up Xavier?
Who asked you?
Michelle did.
That's her sister. So
Yes,
let's get to the story a little bit faster.
All right.
Sorry. So far, you're doing fine, but we got to get there because I have other things to do.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so her sister said, can you come and pick up
Yes, can you come and
Xavier,
pick up
who is
Xavier?
how old?
About 11, I believe.
How old is Xavier?
He's 10.
10 or 11. You always quibble over a year. So they wanted you to come pick him up because the party was inappropriate for him.
Yes, for him.
Okay, so you went to pick him up?
So I went to pick him up, and Marcus and Tiaja were with me at Lori's at the time. Marcus was hungry, and I had just ordered Chinese food. And I told Aaron, and I told Lori, hey, you know, I'm gonna leave him. He's hungry. He'll just have something to eat. Can you watch him? She said, sure. I took Tiaja with me, which is my daughter.
She wasn't hungry?
No.
She's always hungry.
Don't do it again. You want to know why? Miss Cruz, because if I see that you can't control yourself in the courtroom, how am I going to believe you when you tell me that you wouldn't dare do what she says you did to her car, because you don't have a temper like that. You can control yourself, right? So far, it's been twice that you haven't been able to control yourself, or 3 times. You get me?
Yeah.
Even your uncle gets me, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Go ahead.
So when I pulled up to pick up Xavier, Tanya was outside and Michelle was outside with her baby that she just had. So she came out to show me. I'm real close with them and stuff. And when she came outside, I said, oh, Michelle, there's your new baby. I'm getting out of the car. And she kept asking me, where is my son? Ben, where is Marcus? Where the F is Marcus? And I'm ignoring her because she gets loud and she's always doing that. And Tiaja, I look at Tiaja and I saw in her eyes, she was getting,
Right,
like,
because
what's
her mother
going
was
on?
acting inappropriately.
Yeah, so I said, Tanya, you know, relax. Why do you guys? She goes, no, where the F is my son? Pa, pa, pa. So I kept ignoring her, and I'm talking to Michelle. She said, you want to ignore me? Well, I don't know if she chose those words or whatever. She went right around us and started kicking the car. And that's when I got off, obviously.
And?
There was people around, and I said, you guys saw that, right? You guys saw what she just did, right? Right? And everybody's like, you know, all of a sudden nobody saw anything except one kid. He saw it. And I have a police report.
I'd like to see the police report, please.
And he's
Can't control yourself?
He's a minor, Your Honor?
No,
Can't control yourself?
I'm just trying to,
You're trying
to put my hand.
What do you think? You think that I'm not going to let you speak? Do you think that this is only a one-sided case, that only he gets to speak? You do know that both sides get to speak, right, Miss Cruz? In their turn. What's Uncle's name?
Vincent.
You get it, Vincent?
Yes, ma'am.
You get her, Vincent?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Because you're going to have to make a very important decision, Vincent, as to whether or not you want to speak later.
Okay.
Because you don't look like the kind of guy that wants to be humiliated.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
There was a witness in the police report who indicates that they saw you kick the car.
I forgot to tell you. He says, I'll pay somebody to say that she kicked the car.
And later today,
This has seriously been going on for a long time, threatening my child, threatening me. He shoved me into a wall and left me captive in the closet.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Erin Creatia says her boyfriend's ex, Tanya Cruz, vandalized her car by kicking it.
All right. Okay, Ms. Cruz, now it's your turn. Let's go to April 22nd, 2005. How many people were at the party?
At that point, there was probably about 4.
Four
My
women?
sister, yes.
Where was Uncle Vincent?
He was not there.
So Uncle Vincent saw nothing, is that right?
Right. But when I went outside, they were outside talking, I noticed that my son wasn't in the car. I asked him, you know, where's my son? He ignored me, where's my son? In which he had told my brother she looked so good that I couldn't look at her. That was in his words. After he ignored me, I said, Tiaja, get out of the car, go get my son, bring him back.
Why did you do that?
Because he had just came back from Florida. For 2 years, he hasn't seen his children. So why are you going to leave your kids behind? And my daughter not being hungry, she's hungry all the time, but that's irrelevant. So I told my daughter to come in with me. We went in. He has a very bad temper, so I know not to provoke him. We went inside the house. He started swearing and, you know, saying derogatory comments, in which I shut the door because I had company. I thought that was over with. I sat there, I got a knock on the door. The cops came. They know him very well. They ended up asking him to leave the premises, and 3 months later, I get court papers in the mail.
He made the police report that day, and there was a witness in the police report who indicates that they saw you kick the car.
I forgot to tell you. He says, I'll pay somebody to say that she kicked the car.
Ridiculous.
Is there anything that Uncle Vincent is going to tell me? No, he's just here for moral support.
Right. Perfect. Pretty much the women that were at my house are single working moms. And
well, they're single working moms, but you were having a party at your house, the subject matter of which was inappropriate for children.
Right.
And you had a 10-year-old child there.
No, my sister had called, and they got along.
She didn't call.
Yeah,
he called your house.
No, she had called him.
So she had called him to please come over and pick up her son?
Well, she had said, come see my nephew. You know, he's still a baby.
Sounds as if your family doesn't dislike him as much as you do.
No, we actually, they get along with him.
Good. Can I see the estimate, please, on the car? And this was your car?
Yes.
Ms. Cruz, I don't believe you. I believe you have a hot temper, and I believe you went out there and gave the car a good kick because he ignored you. And I believe that you walked outside the house and you said exactly what he said you said.
I interrupted a couple times because he takes a long time to tell.
Listen to me. What I'm telling you is I believe him, and I don't believe you. I believe that you kicked the car because you were frustrated and annoyed that he wouldn't respond to you.
I was upset.
Oh, I know that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $894. Thank you.
Thank you. Parties are excused. You may step out.
Actually, he's got, you know, the dirty mouth, and he tells me, well, I'm going to talk to the kids the way I'm going to talk to them.
I knew that she'd see through Tanya's lies.
He had a drug habit, and, you know, he had to change his lifestyle.
Yes, I did have a drug habit, but I wanted to change my life. As you can see, being with her, that's the, you know, who wouldn't have a drug habit?
Real estate student Serena Catway is suing her sister, floral designer Suzanne Tyler, for the return of her car and an assault.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 290 on the calendar in the matter of Cantway versus Tyler. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Ms. Cantway, the defendant is your sister.
Yes.
According to your complaints, she has a car that belongs to you that she refuses to return, and at some point in a dispute over the use of that car, your sister assaulted you. Your sister says that the car is hers, you gave it to her, and that she never laid a hand on you. If anything, she was trying to protect you from yourself. So, Ms. Cantway, tell me how it came to be that your sister actually had possession of your car, because clearly the car is in her possession.
Yes. Last year, July 30th of last year, we decided to write up an agreement. I needed to borrow some money. I was having financial difficulties due to a personal situation, and we were going to write up the financial agreement that she was going to loan me the money and use the car. There were other circumstances behind it that she needed help.
Listen to me. Relax. You're going to have a turn to speak. Do you understand? So sometime last year, you were going to write up an agreement.
We did write up an agreement.
Can I see it, please? Now, when did you write up this agreement?
7/30/01.
And what happened? Signed this agreement that you would let her use your 1991 Toyota Tercel and keep it as collateral for $600 loan. You say the loan never came about?
No, the loan never came about.
So, what happened next?
Well, a couple of months went by. We had talked about it a little bit. The situation was good for her at that point because the car that she had been driving, she sold because it was unsafe. She did help me watch my kids, and it was a safe car for her to be able to drive around in. I did have another vehicle at the time.
Where had you gotten this car from?
My mother gave me this car.
When?
Back in 1995.
And you had another car?
At the time that my sister was using mine, yes.
What kind of car did you have?
1996 Camaro.
So what happened a year later?
Well, we had a few discussions about the car. She was perfectly aware of the situation, that the car was to be used by her, not owned by her. She knew.
Don't tell me what she knew.
Okay, well, as far as my understanding, she knew.
Just don't tell me what she knew.
In February of the following year, I told her that my Camaro is going to have to go. I'm filing bankruptcy. Well, something happened to the Camaro prior to them repoing it on the bankruptcy anyway, but either way, it was going to go. I told her I have to have the vehicle back. We discussed being able to work out terms of sharing the vehicle so that neither one of us would be without a car.
Let me ask you this question, Ms. Cantway. There came a time when you signed over the pink slip to the car to your sister.
Yeah.
When was that?
I think that was probably about a month later, maybe.
A month later when? A month later in?
From the time that we signed the agreement.
So at the end of August?
Yes.
Now, could you explain to me why you signed over the pink slip to your sister?
Because at the time, I did not have a driver's license. And in order to insure the vehicle, it was extremely expensive. The insurance
What do you mean
company,
you didn't have a driver's license? You told me that you had a...
Yeah, I had a car, but that doesn't mean I drove it.
You told me that you had another car that you were driving.
I didn't drive it. I had another car.
Why weren't you driving it?
I didn't have a license.
Why not?
I made a mistake. Something I had to pay for. Has nothing to do with the situation of why I don't have my Tercel now.
If it has anything to do with drinking, it has to do with the situation, because your sister says part of the problem was you're drinking, driving at the same time, and that the altercation that you had that resulted in you say you getting assaulted had to do with her trying to protect you and your children. So what I'm asking you is, you said you'd made a mistake that had anything to do with a DUI that you received.
Yes, ma'am, it did have to do with a DUI.
Okay. So at the time that you gave her the pink slip for the car, that allowed her to put the car in her name.
For insurance purposes.
No. No. That's prima facie evidence of a gift. If you turn over the pink slip, it says that you are now the owner of the car.
I thought I was getting a loan.
But you didn't get the loan.
I didn't get a loan. I gave her time to give me the money. She's supposedly getting a settlement. I needed the money to pay my attorney. She never got a settlement. I never got any money. So I was without my vehicle and without a loan.
So are you telling me, but for the fact that this transaction never took place, you would have sold her your car for $600?
No, collateral.
Well, let us say that she never gave you the money.
Which never happened.
You never took your collateral back because you had already
I tried.
Right.
I tried.
Okay, now let's move on. Let's move on to this assault that you allege.
July 4th, my sister I knew was going to the Baptist church with my mother for the fireworks show, so I called and said that I was going to come and use the car in order to take my children to the fireworks. I received a phone call back that I am not allowed to use the car unless I ask nicely. So I drove over to the house to find out what was wrong, what was going on. We ended up getting into an argument about the agreement, about the car. She grabbed her keys, grabbed her purse, and went down the stairs to get into the vehicle. I sat in the passenger seat and I turned it off. I said, "You're going to..."
No, just a minute. She ran downstairs and you followed her.
I walked downstairs, followed her, yes.
Go ahead.
I turned off the ignition. As I did that, she reached over, grabbed my hand, scratched up my hand right here. I threw the keys out the window as kind of just a response to being grabbed. She started to claw at me. I threw up my hands, grabbed her wrists, and asked her to stop. "What are you doing?" is what I said.
Okay, Miss Tyler, I'll hear you.
When we did the agreement, I was the one that did that. I said, "Serena, I want to give you something for the car." She said, "Look, I'll sign over the pink slip. I really don't want the money." But I went ahead and did that anyway.
No, that's not what happened, Miss Tyler. Just pay careful attention to me. That's not what happened. Not unless you can show me that the pink slip to the car was signed over on July 30th.
This was signed over on September the 14th.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Right.
So it wasn't signed over on July 30th. Well, let's get your story together.
Okay. So anyway.
Now let's start from the beginning so that you can hopefully get your story together properly. Your best defense is the truth. I want you to understand that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She got really belligerent with me and said something about my son who was brutally murdered 5 years ago. And she started punching on me, and then she threw the keys out the window.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Serena Catway says she used her car as collateral for a loan from her sister, Suzanne Tyler. Serena says the loan never happened and Suzanne won't return the car. Serena also claims Suzanne assaulted her.
You signed this piece of paper.
Right.
You signed it.
Right.
This piece of paper says you're getting this car as collateral towards a loan for $600 in which I will repay her at $25 a month. That's what this says.
Oh, that is not the one. I don't have a copy of that.
Really? Oh, show this to her. I'm
I don't.
sorry.
I don't.
Show that to
Your
her,
Honor.
please. Do you have that?
This is not the one, Serena.
Oh, wait, do you have...
No, I don't have a copy of this.
No, do you have a copy of any agreement that you signed?
No.
Okay, but you never signed that?
No.
Good. Can I have it, please?
That is the agreement, Your Honor.
Okay. I
There
don't
is
know
no
that
other
at all.
agreement.
I don't know that at all. Go ahead.
So, on September the 14th, my sister signed over the title of the car.
Tell me about the conversation that you had with her.
I did tell her I did want to give her some money for the car. This was before she signed this over. I said, I don't feel right about it. But she said, don't worry about it. Mom got the car for me, and it's like a family heirloom. I'm going to pass it down to you.
That's not true.
Okay. Can I see the pink slip?
I've
Can I see
never called the
title?
car a family heirloom.
Go ahead.
So then after this, I was always driving her kids around because she had 2 DUIs. So I was doing that for her. And then I think it was a few months after that, Serena had mentioned that she was behind on her Camaro payments. And so it was not too long after that she totaled the Camaro. And
I didn't total the Camaro.
Yes, you did, Serena.
Miss Tyler, just talk to me.
She
Don't
totaled the
interrupt me.
Camaro. She didn't have any insurance. The car was going to be repossessed. So she hid the car in the garage for 3 weeks. And she went down and she got an insurance company to insure the car. When her boyfriend got back from Spain, they went and they told the insurance company that he was the one that was driving it, so she
Your
wouldn't
Honor.
get in trouble because she didn't have a license. So then
I was
she
filing
made
bankruptcy. I'm sorry, but I was going to lose the car. I did not wreck it.
Go ahead.
Ma'am, okay. Then after this, it was like a few weeks after that, her and her girlfriend came up to the house.
You're talking about the incident in July?
No,
July
ma'am.
4th?
She's talking.
This was in the spring of 2002 when she wrecked the Camaro.
Okay, she wrecked the Camaro.
Right,
Go
and
ahead.
it was like 2 weeks after that. I was sitting on the front porch, and her and her friend came over, and a friend of hers was outside talking to me, and Serena went in the house, and she said, you need to give the car back to Serena. And I said, what are you talking about?
And what did you do to her?
And I said,
Miss
what are you...
Cantway,
I'm sorry,
I don't
ma'am.
want to hear you.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
I said, I says, what are you talking about? And she says, you need to give that car back to Serena. And I says, this is an agreement between me and Serena. It's really none of your business. And I asked her to leave. And then she got really belligerent with me and said something about my son who was brutally murdered 5 years ago. So I called the cops and asked her to please leave.
Who said that to you, the friend?
Yeah, her
Okay,
friend of
a
hers.
friend. Keep going.
So then I asked, Serena was there, and I came out. I said, Serena, what is... I called the cops because I said, you got to get this woman off my property.
Okay.
So then I told Serena, I says, what is the deal with the car?
Don't interrupt her.
I'm not interrupting.
She didn't
I was raising
interrupt.
my hand.
No. She didn't interrupt you while you were testifying.
Yes.
When she did once, I told her to be quiet, and she waited. That's what I'm telling you. Do you
Okay.
understand?
Yes.
I don't have to say it again. It irritates me to be irritated.
I'm sorry to irritate you.
Good.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Serena Catway says she used her car as collateral for a loan from her sister, Suzanne Tyler. Serena says the loan never happened and Suzanne won't return the car. Serena also claims Suzanne assaulted her.
Keep going.
So then I confronted Serena because she was there, and I said, what is the deal with the car? What is this about this contract that you're talking about? And she says, well, I was using that against Scott in case he wanted to get his hands on the car. And I'm going, what are you talking about? And I want the car back after you get your settlement. And I'm thinking, and I told Serena, I says, well, Serena, I don't know why you...
Miss Tyler, is she talking about?
Because I have a workman's comp settlement. I broke my neck. And I'm still recovering from that.
Would you tell me, please, what happened on the 4th of July of 2002?
Yes, Serena wanted to borrow the car, and she had borrowed the car 5 days in a row because I know she was out of vehicle, and I was trying to do the nice thing for her.
And you had your driver's license back at that time?
Yes, she did get it back, yeah. So, but during that week, she had, I know this for a fact, because she left the house and she drove the car twice drunk, and she let somebody else drive the car. So and during that evening, on the 3rd, I was sitting on the porch with family members. They were concerned. They said, you're going to have to not let Serena drive the car. So I said, well, I know this is going to be a problem. So the next day when she asked me to use the car, I said, honey, I got errands to run. I said, I'll try to arrange a ride for you, and we'll try to see what we can work out. Well, then she came over shortly after our conversation on the phone, extremely upset with me, yelling and screaming. I said, Serena, quit yelling at me. And then she brought up the contract, the $600. She kept it up, and I said, I've got to get away from here. So I grabbed my keys, and I began to go down the stairs. She followed me. She got in the car. She grabbed the keys. We were like this, and she started punching on me, and then she threw the keys out the window. And then when I waited, I had a second set of keys. When she went back upstairs, I got in the car, rolled up the windows, and I took off, and I went to my cousin's house. And I left town. I left town the following week because I got tired of the abuse, and I moved to Napa.
Miss Cantway, I'm certainly hearing two diverse stories.
I see that, yeah.
My job is made very easy by the fact that neither of you dispute the fact that you signed over the pink slip to this car, not conditionally, not as a lien holder, but for all purposes to your sister. If you had signed it over to her and been a lien holder for $600, because that was the condition of giving it to her, that she would pay you $600 or give you $600, there would have been a lien on the car for $600.
Yeah.
But you did not. You signed it over so that she is now the owner of that car.
Yep.
So your lawsuit with regard to the return of the car is dismissed. With regard to the assault, since I find that this was her car and you had absolutely no right to get into her car, to pull the keys out of the ignition, to stop the car.
Your Honor.
I'm speaking. She says it's because you had either let someone else drive the car or
nobody else
family
drove the
I'm
car.
speaking, or people told her that you were driving the car while you were intoxicated. And if it's her car in her name, she is liable for anything that happens to the car. In any event, you had no right to get into the car, pull the ignition keys out, toss them out, and if she scratched your hand at the time that you were struggling over the car keys, she has a right to do that.
Yes.
Because it's her car.
I had driven the car drunk, Your Honor.
No, it doesn't make any difference.
I took the dog to the vet to be put down, and I picked his daughter up from school.
Let's say you weren't driving the car drunk. You still have absolutely no right to get into her car and touch her property, and she has the right to use whatever force is necessary to get your hands off the ignition keys. And if she scratched your hand while she was doing it, she scratched your hand. That's it. I mean, it's certainly very sad
She neglected to mention to you what she did to the other girl who was supposedly so belligerent at her house. The other girl mentioned, why don't you give the vehicle back to Serena? It is her car. Do you know what she did to that girl? She grabbed her by the bottom of her neck and scratched her all the way up to her ears.
Now, if this person that you brought to the house said something to her about her child who was murdered in the course
they said nothing about that.
You were inside. You were inside. You were not outside.
I
when
was
that
outside.
No, I don't. Miss Cantway,
the porch.
I don't
right
believe
there.
a whole lot of what you're telling me. What I do believe is that you gave your sister your car because you had another car. You had no use to have for this second car. You had a newer car.
I wish
the
I was
newer.
that
I'm
rich.
speaking. The newer car got repossessed. You said, I want my car back. She said, I'm not giving you your car back. She said, but I'll share it with you. I'll share it with you. You use it when you need it, and I'll use it when I need it. And then you had an argument.
No.
And you want a court to resolve it as a family dispute. I don't intend to do that. Case is dismissed. That's all.
All right, no excuse. You're going to step out.
She's got a lot of animosity to me, and it really hurts my feelings, and I wish she didn't have to come to this.
I just found out the blood's not thicker than water.
She was demanding and wanted it back, and it wasn't just going to work out that way for her this time.
According to her, I'm the spoiled one that gets her way all the time. Well, obviously not, huh?
Maybe somewhere down the road we can settle it.
Reservations agent Rosemary Harris is suing her son's former common law wife, 25-year-old customer service rep Rebecca Cardisco, for a series of unpaid loans. Rebecca says the money was meant for her children's Christmas gifts.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 193 on the calendar, the matter of Harris versus Cardisco.
Thank you, Bird.
Quite welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Miss Harris, is this your son?
Yes, ma'am.
Is this the son that has 2 children with this lady?
Yes, ma'am.
It is your claim that the defendant owes you some money for a series of loans. She and your son, I assume, lived together or were together for a period of time because, according to what I've read, they have 2 children together.
Yes, ma'am.
How old are your grandchildren?
3 and 1. And John also has 2 stepsons, which were Rebecca's children.
Well, they were never married.
No, but he has custody of them.
He has custody of her 2 children that are not his biological children.
Yes, ma'am.
So you have custody of all 4 children. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
What is wrong with you? Shh, quiet.
We went through we're going through custody right now.
No. I could understand when you have a custody dispute involving parents, 2 biological parents. Judge has to weigh what's in a child's best interest. But when a judge, unless the judge is educated on Jupiter, gives non-biological children to not even a step-parent, because the 2 of you were never married, to somebody else, there has to be something wrong with you. Do you have a drug problem, an alcohol problem?
I did, Your Honor. I did have a drug problem, and he doesn't have full custody of the children. It's going through social services.
Well, but who do they live with 5 days a week?
Right now, him.
Fine. So, and they go to school from his house?
Yes.
So right now he has custody?
Yes, Your Honor.
And are you in a drug program?
Yes, I am.
Did you go into a residential program?
When I get back in town, I am.
So you are not now in a residential drug program?
No, but I'm in an outpatient program right now.
How long were you using drugs?
For 3 years. After I had my daughter, I got in a car wreck and had a lot of back problems.
Oh, everybody has back problems. But not everybody becomes addicted to drugs. Okay. Tell me about the loans.
Okay. Basically met Becky in March of '98 when she was living with her another boyfriend in the same complex we did. They broke up and she needed a place to stay, and she finagled her way into my house and lived with us for a couple months, and then her and John started a relationship. Then the first grandchild was born in 9 of '99, and from that point on, it started being just a big con. Every couple months, every couple weeks, she needed this or needed that or needed help with this. Then they broke up for a while, and she had her own apartment and would hold the baby almost hostage. If you want to see your granddaughter, you'll give me this. She had a car wreck in 11 of '99, and that's when she got her back hurt and started taking Vicodin and Zoma and got addicted to them. And then she got pregnant again with my second granddaughter and had her
Also no testament to his good judgment.
Yes.
Okay.
And she was born in March of 2001.
Now, when she lived with you, she also lived with you with her other 2 children?
Yes, ma'am. I supported her and her 2 children then. And then, after the second baby was born, she really got deep into the drugs. She, at one point, had 8 drug felonies on her. 2 of them were where she used my name to get the drugs. And she was actually able to con her way out of those charges. She got something called drug court, where she gets to go in and talk to somebody once a week. And
at what point did they remove the children?
In May of this year.
Were either of the girls born with any sort of drugs in their system?
No, ma'am.
Were either of them tested?
No, ma'am, so there's no way to know for sure.
Where does your son live now, Miss Harris?
My son lives in Fort Collins with the children, and I travel there every day to help him with the children.
Stand there. Who takes care of the children?
Oh, I do. My mother helps.
You work?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
Construction.
How do you support yourself?
Right now, I don't have a place to live. That's why when I go back, I'm going into treatment.
How do you expect her to give you any money?
In July of this year, Becky claimed she got a $50,000 insurance settlement.
Did
she
you?
went out and bought a new car.
No, I
Did
didn't.
you?
No, I didn't. My grandmother.
Did you get any money?
My grandmother gave me a couple thousand to get me a car so I could get a job.
And what'd you do with the car?
It broke down.
Did you ever tell Miss Harris that you got a settlement for something?
I did tell her I had gotten some money and that I would give her some. I did tell her that. But I didn't have any. And as far as
You didn't have any what?
I didn't have any money.
So what you told her was a lie?
Yes, Your Honor.
How much money do you owe her?
I do owe her money. She did give me money for Christmas. I'm not going to say I don't owe her anything, because I do.
So I'm asking, how much do you owe her?
I don't know for sure. I mean,
how much does she owe you for Christmas?
For Christmas alone, $800. But prior to that, I gave her $500 for rent in November, $500 again rent for January and I even had to take loans out from where I worked for me to survive because I was giving her money.
Did you expect to get that money back?
Yes,
Ms.
I
Harris,
did.
my question is, seriously, did you expect to get that money back from her? And I mean, you can get a judgment, but I'm going to ask you honestly.
Yes, ma'am.
Where is she going to get the money from?
She would actually sit there on the phone in front of me and be talking to the insurance guy. Actually sit there talking to him, but she actually wasn't talking to him. And she was having a conversation with nobody. Yes, I'll come down and get that check. At one point, I mean, several times she was supposed to pick up a check. She had John and I believing she got a $50,000 check. She was throwing money around. She went and got a $150 perm. She gave me a $100 bill one time to thank me for watching her kids because she'd been out of the house for almost 3 months. I actually thought she was getting a settlement. Then I find this letter in the house. She settled for next to nothing in November of 2000.
Let me see.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You didn't tell them that you were settling it. You just wanted the money right away.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, I know. What? You're doing drugs. You need some money for drugs. Nonsense. Nonsense.
And later today,
If she's the co-signer on a note for your car, then you're supposed to pay for the car.
Right, which I pay her for.
Let's go slowly, Mr. Gaffney. My father didn't raise idiots.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rosemary Harris says her son's former common-law wife, Rebecca Cardisco, owes for several unpaid loans. Rosemary claims Rebecca is a drug addict.
So you settled this accident claim despite the fact that you had an attorney. How much did you settle it for?
I think it was around $800. The attorney said that they couldn't get any more, and if they could, it was going to take a long while.
You didn't tell them that you were settling it. You just wanted the money right away.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, I know. That's what you did. You had a lawyer. They got fed up with you because you settled with this company after they had made some expenditures. What? You're doing drugs. You need some money. You need some money for drugs. Look, as far as I can see, she owes you for 3 months' rent and $800 for Christmas. She doesn't know how much she owes you. That's $2,300. Has she, I assume, not given you any child support for the 3 children?
Not as of yet, no.
Have you worked in the last 5 years?
Yes, Your Honor, and he did receive child support last month.
How much?
I gave him $500.
From where?
Between him and his mother.
From where?
I got some money from my grandmother.
From your grandmother?
She gave me some money to give him for the children. He said that he needed it for the children. And I have a job.
Do you use drugs or do you sell them occasionally?
I don't do either. I've been clean.
Judge, there is a judgment now. She's supposed to pay $575 a month.
Good. That's what she's supposed to do. Somebody else is taking care of your children. In the meantime, she owes you $2,300. Miss Cardisco, I wish you good luck in residential treatment. If you want it to be successful, you have to stay there. You can't go in there for 6 weeks, or for 4 weeks, or for 12 weeks and say it's over. You have to stay there. What is it, a year or 18 months? Is that what they want you to stay?
60 days. 60 days.
Nonsense! Nonsense! Bert and I were in family court between us for more years than you're alive. And no residential program where you just go for 60 days is going to keep you off drugs permanently. You have to go into a drug-free environment for a long time. You've been on drugs for at least 3 years. Don't kid yourself. 60 days is not going to do it. 30 days is not going to do it. You have to do it. You have children. You made children. They need you. Do you get it? They need you. Stay with it. Find the right place and stay there. You're a young woman. How old?
25.
25. Got a lot of years ahead. They can be miserable. You can have a miserable life or you can have a happy life. You still have another 50 years of happiness or you have 50 years of misery. Choice is yours. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Becky's nothing but a con.
I do have problems and I have issues, but they're not any better than I am. Any better.
I'm the primary caregiver because Becky's a drug addict.
I never kept her grandchildren from her. I was afraid she was going to try to take